Okay, this week in Chapter 1, we're going to cover labor relations and the intersection of union and management relationships. Now, this is a really interesting topic because we know that within a company, a union can represent the rights of the workers. Sometimes it can also represent the rights of management as well. And of course, management represents the interests and the rights of the company. Sometimes in a for-profit company, this is a board of directors. At a college or at a university, this might be a board of trustees. So these are some terms that you may want to be aware of. So I would encourage you for this week to make sure that you read Chapter 1, but also that you review the term section in the back of Chapter 1. This is going to be important also because you'll be taking a quiz on union terms. So some good things for you to know. So a few basic assumptions that I would like to talk about related to our text this week. If you have your textbook handy, you may want to have a look at page 13. Page 13 is going to talk about 3 basic assumptions that govern labor relations. Now, these assumptions are, we could consider founding principles in the field of labor relations, and they direct our thinking and are some basic ideas that if you know and understand will make understanding labor relations and understanding this course a lot easier for you. So again, I would encourage you to check out Chapter 1 and look at page 13 in your text. Okay, so basic principles that we want to be aware of include the idea of free enterprise. So free enterprise looks at a basic assumption of capitalism, that businesses can exist and they can exist in their own unique form, separate from a government entity. Now, it's important to note that not every country follows the same labor relations principles. So this course primarily is looking at principles that are related to the United States. So please keep that in mind when we talk about ideas and concepts. These are not universal globally, although there are some effects which would be occurring in other countries as well. And we will talk about international labor relations a little later in our class. So 3 basic assumptions. Free enterprise. One difficulty in free enterprise is that sometimes there's a conflict between what your employees want and what the company or the managers of that, the owners of that company want. So sometimes we see this as a conflict and something that is important to be aware of. Again, all these principles are talked about in more detail on page 13, okay? So a second basic assumption is that employees can work anywhere they want. So you're aware of companies that you work at. No one has forced you to work in a certain place at a certain company. You can work anywhere you want. In Pennsylvania, this is also the case with employers. So employers can hire anyone they want and they can discharge anyone they want for any reason they want. For this reason, Pennsylvania is considered an at-will employment state. It's something we'll talk about a little bit more later in the course. Okay, and then lastly, within labor relations, there's a general belief that collective bargaining is helpful and that it helps to increase fairness both for a worker to ensure their rights are met and for a company. So these principles are principles you may not agree with personally, but they are the principles that guide labor relations and understanding our course. So please make sure that you read up on these 3 principles. Again, that's free enterprise, employment at will and working where employment freedom, and collective bargaining. These again are in Chapter 1 on page 13. We'll have some great discussion this week around these concepts, and we'll be digging into our material. So I'm looking forward to learning along with you in our class, and I'm excited for us to experience this learning environment together. As always, please let me know if you have any questions or if there's anything I can help with. Feel free to contact me.